Hello, the internet. Welcome back. We finally have the tier 4 classes, the Destroyer in the case of my class, and then we have the Magister right there, which still is 2 months away, so no rush on that. So let's talk a little bit about day 1 builds, what's going on, what is the best element, what is so far the best way of running builds, which, spoiler alert, is still mixing elements, still, you don't want to be getting rid of that, but we are finally dropping Elemental Harmony. It's not mandatory to run anymore, and it's not the highest damage output anymore either. That said, let's talk about this a little bit. And also, before we go into that important, you might be seeing a lot of people switching to melee. On this tier 4 class, the Conqueror is a lot stronger. So if you like the mage, it's fine. I'm not switching. I'm not going to be switching to a melee class. But it's true that our upgrade doesn't feel as strong. It doesn't feel as impactful as it did when we got the tier 3 spells, for example, right? That said, once again, if you are planning on sticking with a Destroyer, let's talk about element by element what is going on, the best spells, and everything new we are getting. First of all, I'm not going to be including defensive charms on this build, but there are a few you can always use. If you are having trouble surviving, usually a Void Bubble is welcome. It will save you. The immortality or the dodge it gives you plus the shield is good. But we have a new best in slot defensive tool, and that is going to be the Overload Protection. This is good only if you are fighting against super high combat power enemies, because you will be losing 15% of your max HP pretty consistently as a Destroyer. Like, our HP is not that good. So Overload Protection is good, Void Bubble is good, and also Frostguard is good. If you can run one of them to stay alive longer, feel free to do so. Another one for the fire build that is actually decent and helps you is the Fiery Rejuvenation, which heals you depending on how many tiles that are inflicted with burn around you. So pretty nice. Once again, all of those tools are defensive items or defensive charms you can consider applying depending on what you're doing and the type of content. For PvP and bosses, another one that is pretty fun always is Repelling Wind, even though it's kind of like a half and half between defensive and offensive tool. But always consider including those. I'm not going to be talking about them, but just consider including them. Another technique I will not be talking about, but we have to mention before we go into builds, is one of the best spells for tier 4, and that is the Formation Breaker. This is a buff for everyone, not only for you. Now, this is an attack buff. This might not look like much, but considering we are not as strong as the other class, you will be running Formation Breaker almost on every single co-op content. Be it on the raid, be it on the dungeons, like any event. It is a great spell. It actually helps a lot and it increases damage. So consider including Formation Breaker on your builds as well. And then lastly, before we talk about pure single elements, right? So light, wind, etc. The best builds currently are still mixed builds. Half and half are the best results. Half lighting, half wind, half fire, half lighting, half wind, half fire, etc. The one that is performing the worst is still it's water, and we'll talk about water in a moment. But those are the best builds. It's still half and half. You don't have to be running pure four elements in order to be doing the best damage. The one I've been having the most fun with right now is this build right here for single target damage. If you want to copy it, this is probably one of the best single target builds you can run currently in the game, and it performs really well. You can replace Elemental Harmony with something like, for example, the new charm we got for extra crit, like the Explosive Spirit, or just a defensive tool if you need. That's it. Let's go element by element into what is going on, and we will be also showing damage numbers of each element so you guys can see what's going on. The light element is getting 2 new techniques, no new charms that I can remember of. The techniques we are getting are Starlight Burst, really good for AoE damage, and the best single target spell we have currently, Thunder of Judgment, even better than Divine Wrath depending on the content. And anything else does not really change. We still run Incarnation of Light, Rapid Cast, Radiant Seed is still the best charm for passive damage, and Lighting Mystery stays there. If we go into a champion, 30 rounds, and we go into our light build, as you guys will see, we're doing pretty decent damage. It's 163, 170 is like a top if you have good luck with crits. 163, we're going to skill report once again, 41 million Thunder of Judgment, 25 Divine Wrath. The other two spells remain there. Starlight Burst is better for AoE, but it's still respectable when it comes to this type of damage. And then obviously 27 on Radiant Seal, which is fantastic. So the light build, it's pretty good. I've been enjoying it. It's one of my favorites. Now, my least favorite build is we get two new things, a new charm and a new technique. The technique is Flowing Doom. It's an upgraded quote-unquote Water Assault, but not that much better. The charm we are getting, which I absolutely dislike and I will not be using, it's Shattering Ice. When a target frozen by the caster removes the frozen state, additionally this water damage. It's 200%, but it means you have to consistently freeze the enemy. This is good for ads, not so much for the boss. If we're talking about the boss, the water build just... Oh, sorry, this is actually not the water build. Let's not test. If we're talking about the boss, the water build is not performing as well. It's not performing really good. 77, even if we retry, it doesn't really go that much higher when it comes to damage output. So if I go here, 75, and we go into here, as you guys can see, 4 million on Shattering Ice, almost nothing. 9 million on Water to Ice. You are better off running Radiance here and Lighting Mystery on a water build, right? Now, like I said earlier, the biggest problem we have currently is the damage itself, but to be fair, that's because this is a boss. So if we go instead into a minion or a monster group right here with this, something like this, the damage improves quite a bit and the performance as well. So if we go here, you guys will see that we do 900, and now our spells are going to be doing a lot better. 187 when it comes to Shattering Ice. So it heavily depends on also what you're doing. 916 on our freeze build, and if we go back to our lighting build and we start the battle with this one, we're going to be doing around 700. So heavily depends on the type of content you are running, and that's going to be changing as well. The damage and everything else, right? So important to mention that even though I dislike the freeze build, it is good for AoE content. The thing is that for AoE content, you have a better build that's gonna be Fire, and Fire is getting a few new things. So first of all, let me switch to a Fireball. We are getting mostly new charms, not really a new technique, but mostly charms. And all of the charms we get are fantastic. So like I said earlier, Fiery Rejuvenation to heal yourself is really good. Since we're doing pure damage, however, and we do not need heals, you can switch instead to Mana Surge for more crit. And crit is important because our new offensive tool is the Fiery Burst. Each time the caster techniques deal fire damage, crit damage, you will deal additional fire damage once to all enemies within 2 grids. This means you are expanding and exploding everything. Also, Explosive Spirit, which gives you crit rate every time you use a fire technique. It's a 4.8%, but it stacks up to 8 times, making it pretty good. This means if you have a lot of crit rate, you can't drop Mana Surge, and you can't drop as well Explosive Spirit if you have enough crit rate on your gear. And this spell right here, Fiery Burst, will destroy everything. So let's go here, let's go into a normal boss so you guys can see the fire, and into the actual group content as well. Fire build on a single boss is nice, is decent. Obviously, we're going into 112, which is an in-between for the lighting single target build, and still better on single target than our freeze build. And once again, Meteor doing really good, and our nice Fiery Burst is doing pretty nice as well, 17, with our fire itself on the ground doing 15. Now, where this shines the most, once again, it's on enemies like this, because you can get so much more damage with your fire. We're going all the way to 2.47 billion in contrast to the previous runs, guys. It is stupid the amount of damage Fiery Burst can do if you have a lot of enemies together. 1.8, all the damage is coming from that, from just exploding enemies. So that is why this fire build is so good for enemies. So for big groups of ads, fire is your new best friend. Look at how much it's gonna be proccing when it comes to all of those crits. The more you crit, the more it explodes. Look at that, it's fantastic. I love it, I love it. So fire is my new favorite build for clearing content, just because of that. But you can just mix it. You don't have to be going only for fire, right? So that's for light, that's for freeze, that's for fire. What about wind? What are we getting? We are getting a new spell and a new charm. The new spell being Windblade Spiral. Its wind damage provides also laceration, and this is a new debuff you're gonna be going and focus for damage on your wind spells. Laceration will apply damage for 1 turn anytime the enemy moves. Okay, so it's pretty good. And for AoE content, since this spell applies laceration on AoE, is also pretty nice. The new charm is going to be not this one, Cyclone Lament. And the same thing, increases your wind damage, and then anytime you deal wind damage, you also have a 35 chance of applying another laceration, which can stack, by the way. You can stack multiple lacerations on the same enemy to deal even more damage. So the wind build doesn't change much. You still run Wind Light, you still run Holding Hurricane. Cyclone is not really good, but you can still run it. Repelling Wind is always funny to see. Cyclone Lament is our newest spell. Wind Shadow is great to delay the target auction. You do not care about overall protection, again, in most content. If you need to survive, you keep it. You can instead run Rapid Cast. You can run anything else that you want to be running, right? Let's go with Rapid Cast so you guys can see it, and we'll do once again a boss and the enemies and the group of enemies. So Wind here on a normal boss, we're talking about give or take 115, which is pretty close to our fire build if I remember correctly, right? 1-6. If we go to the damage report, currently the newest spell is going to be our best spell, doing 23. Wind Light and also Holding Hurricane are doing pretty well, with Cyclone falling behind quite hard. And then our newest spell is doing 12 million as well, pretty good for Cyclone Lament. If we go into the group of enemies instead, it's also pretty nice. It's pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's, you know, amazing, as good as Fire, because Fire is doing too much, but it's still 1 billion. That's still fantastic damage, right? And then we're talking about our new spell doing 100, our new technique doing 283, so it's pretty good. It's pretty good, but the best one is still, to me, the Fire build by far. Now, like I said, for AoE content, obviously, Fire and Fiery Burst is stupid. It depends on crit, so you could be removing Explosive Spirit if you have enough crit rate on your gear, and the same for Mana Surge. But it heavily depends on your gear and how lucky you are. And then, usually, Harmony builds have been switched around to be changed. So like I said earlier, now you're going to be going into, instead of a pure build, you're going to be going into something like this, where you're going with your Divine Wrath, the new spell, both wind spells, and then you're going to be just running the usual Radiant Seer, Rapid Cast, etc. These builds are nice, but they are, if I go into Harmony, like I said, it feels like it does not upgrade as much. We're not getting an impactful upgrade. If anything, now it feels like you can run any build and it still performs well, right? Like, you can run any element you like now, and they are all performing pretty decently. It's just a matter of what you prefer. For single target, however, as you guys can see, 200, which is a lot better than our previous ones. So for bosses, you do still want to be running this. For clearing ads, you can run anything. And then the one I've been running myself personally is going to be this one right here, which is for single target, the best one. Meteoric Flames, Fire Blast for single target, Thunder of Judgment for single target, and then Wind by the Spiral is doing well. You could be going for another light spell if you prefer Divine Wrath. If you prefer something else, you can run that. And I've been running Radiant Seer, my Mana Surge, my Rapid Cast, and I'm still running Elemental Harmony because I got it to Divine after I pulled earlier. So, you know, it's still a lot of Elemental Mastery, but it depends on what you guys are running. So there is a lot of preference now and a lot of more options, in my opinion. It does not feel like a huge upgrade. 214, pretty similar to earlier, but I've been enjoying it. I think this is gonna be a slow season. If you are a sorcerer, it's gonna take some time. 600 on AoE, such huge difference from our fire build doing 2 billion damage, by the way. It is crazy how good that is. But yeah, those are the builds I've been just running for now. My favorites, once again, are this one right here, where I'm mixing elements with this Harmony build as well. This for single target is the one performing the best. You can, instead of Windblade Spiral, simply put the usual Divine Wrath and you're good to go as well, right? I'll be updating the website tomorrow or later today for both the Conqueror and the Destroyer guides to give some reference. As usual, if you guys have any builds you have been enjoying, leave a comment down below so people can see them and I will be liking them too. And good luck with your pool dinner, and I'll see you in the next one.